Want to know how you can become a great handgunner without ever firing a shot? Hi, I'm Dave Miles with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and with me is Charlie McNeese, rangemaster at Gunsite. And Charlie, today we're going to talk about dry practice, and there's a couple things there's a mindset you have to have for dry practice, there's some equipment, and then once you have that, you can practice a ton of shooting without ever firing a shot. Let's talk about that.
Well, what we want to make sure is we have a nice safe area at home. We don't want to have any outside distractions. No radios, no TVs, no phones, nothing to distract us from what we're trying to accomplish. And when we do things with a purpose in mind, not to just waste time. So dry practice is very, very important and very serious.
Sure. And so when you dry practice, the first thing to do is to make sure your gun's clear.
Absolutely.
And you've got some neat stuff here at Gunsite that helps you ensure that that gun is clear and gives you a visual check. Let's take a look at that.
What we have at Gunsite that we give to each one of our students when they come here is this yellow insert that fits in the 1911 and the Glocks and stuff like this that allows them to use this pistol or their pistol and do their dry fire without having to worry if they didn't make sure there was no live ammo around, that one didn't get into the chamber, because this will not accept a round in the chamber.
Yep, it looks like a barrel, but it's not. It's just a solid piece of plastic that fits right in just like it was a real barrel.
It's a regular insert that fits in here just like a barrel does. It extends out the front so that people out in front of you or beside you can tell it is a plastic barrel. And it also, in the ejection port area, it's yellow, so it allows you to see that it is the safe barrel that we have in there.
Well, that's pretty cool. And now you've got some other things too.
We use dummy rounds. Some of them have a casing, some of them are solid orange. We use these here, I do, with the brass colored casing with the orange tip. Now, if I happen to run this, or if I got a live round into my weapon, and I did run the slide, this is exactly what's going to occur because there is no chamber inside of this yellow insert, and a live round cannot fit into it. It's going to let you know right off the bat that something is not right.
Exactly, and that's a neat safety mechanism.
Absolutely, and we can never be too safe when we're doing dry practice.
Absolutely not. You never want to have a bang when you're expecting a click.
No, we don't.
So, well, that's great. Now, beyond that, dry practice, you can teach yourself all kinds of things. What kinds of things do you work on with your dry practice?
Well, what I practice on my dry practice is, first of all, I always practice on the trigger reset. Okay. And I can do trigger reset. Of course, I have to have an empty magazine and an empty pistol to do this, because if you don't, it's going to lock your slide back. But my pistol now is set up so that when I come up and I press the trigger, the hammer falls, I hold the trigger to the rear. I then reach up on top and reset my system. Now I let my finger out till it clicks. Then I start my press back on the trigger till the hammer falls, holding that trigger to the rear, reset my pistol, come back up on the target, let the trigger out, it clicks, I stop, now I start my press, the hammer falls, I can reset my system over and over and over again without firing a round.
And if you're really focused and you're paying attention, you can see if you pulled the trigger well or not, because either that front sight stayed right on target or it moved. And so that's your feedback rather than having a shot. You look at that for feedback. If it stays still, you're squeezing the trigger just right.
A lot of people sometimes, when they first start firing pistols, the noise and the recoil causes them to lose all their focus on the front sight and their trigger press. So they get the sights aligned perfectly, and then their brain says, now, and they end up jerking that trigger. They put 85 pounds of pressure on the trigger. It only takes maybe 5 pounds of pressure to set the trigger.
Sure. Well, that's great. And what else can you do? You practice your trigger control. You can practice your presentation or your draw from the holster.
Right, and I can
going back in safely.
I can also practice all of my reloads. I can practice my tack reloads, simply coming up, inserting a magazine, putting the old magazine away. I can practice these over and over and over again without having to be at a range, without being somewhere where I might have an exit and discharge, but I can do this over and over and over again. But what is the main concern is doing it correctly every time. If you make a mistake, start all over again.
Yep.
I can do speed reloads. Speed reloads. Pistol comes out. I bring out my new magazine. The magazine's passing air. I go flat to flat. I insert about 1.5 inches. I slam that magazine in, and I'm back on target. I just practiced a speed reload with no problems.
And for many of us that shoot at public ranges, these are things that you might not be able to practice at that range. There's times when you want to practice a speed reload, but it's against the rules to be dropping your magazines on the ground. Dry practice is a great place to do that.
Absolutely.
Very good.
We cannot put a value on dry practice. It is extremely important, and it is something that will help you beyond anything you could pay for.
Excellent. Well, there you have it. Get better at handgunning without ever firing a shot, and that's through dry practice. Now, when you're practice all your speed reloads and you're good and you're ready to go to the range, you can focus on your shooting. And if you're looking for a place to go shooting, our website's got all the answers. It's called wheretoshoot.org. And remember, when you're on the range, firearm safety depends on you.